Hey everybody, and welcome to another Interstellar Modeler. Well, in this video, one of the things I'm going to show you is how to turn this into this. Welcome to part 4 of my Hasbro X-Wing conversion. Alright, so we're going to start off with the cannons, and as you know, this is how they come. They don't really look very good. So the rest of it's not too bad, although there are other modifications you could potentially make here. But the one thing that does stand out are the tips here. So we have to remedy this by cutting this off and replacing it with something different. So we're going to need two things for this. One are these tubes here. These are 3/16 inch tubes by Evergreen scale model. And we're going to go back to our toilet paper roll, except with this one we're going to use the larger side of the toilet paper roll. Remember, the other side we used for the tubes for holding the LEDs in the engines. Now, before I go on, I want to make sure that if you go to Home Depot to get this part, just make sure you're looking for this particular one. There's a number 125771 because they do sell two types of toilet paper rolls. This happens to be one that's a little sturdier, the plastic is thicker, comes with these open ends. I mistakenly purchased the other one that they sell there, and it's much cheaper, the plastic is flimsier, and it does not have an open end like this. So just make sure when you go there, you're buying the correct part. Now the reason this is going to be an important part is because we have to create these C-shaped pieces here at the tip of the laser cannon, and that'll replace this whole section here. So we're going to go ahead and cut this off, and the way we're going to do this is now we're going to slice a piece off here. It's going to be about a 1/4 of an inch or so in width. Then we're going to take that ring and slice that in half, and it's that creating a C-type shape, and it's that piece that we're going to use to mount here. Alright, so we're going to go back to this miter box here. This set comes with this saw as well as this miter box. It's made by a company called Excel. You can find it online or at your local hobby stores. But this allows us to cut in more uniform patterns versus just kind of like holding it and bracing it. You can put your piece in here that you're cutting, and there's different openings here that allows you to put your saw, either if you want to cut straight or at different angles. And so this rests against the workbench here. So we're going to take this cannon here now and cut right to the very edge. Alright, and it leaves a flat end piece like this. So next I'm going to sand this down a little bit, but then we're going to go ahead and drill a hole to accommodate our tube. And this tube is going to slide all the way through. And you can see it's an open slot here, so we can actually slide it all the way through to the very bottom just to give it some extra support. Okay, so next we're going to hold it in this vise here while we drill a hole. I'm going to start off with a small drill bit first, and then build up to a larger one to accommodate our tube. So remember, we want our tube to slide all the way down to this section here, and we need to cut it to about 16.5 centimeters there. Now what I want to do is make it the same length as the original. And now we have to make our C-shaped piece here. So next we're going to take our toilet roll holder here. We're going to mark off 1 centimeter here, and we're going to slice off a piece. And that should be thick enough to account for the tube here and give us enough room to drill a hole to accommodate the tube. Alright, I'm going to clean it up just a little bit, but you can see our hole now is large enough to accommodate the tube, so we just slide it on, like so, and there you go. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and finish the other cannons. Okay, and here we now have all the tips of our cannons completed, looking much better than when we started. Alright, and here we now have the 4 laser cannons done. The other thing that I did was I made it to the model store, and I found another tube that I could use for the bottom section here, which is 9/32 of an inch thick, and it fits right into place there. Okay guys, just wanted to show you here before I painted these stripes here on the cannons. I would recommend cutting the tape about 6 centimeters in width and making it fairly long so you can wrap it around the entire pole. And then we're going to go ahead and paint these with an intermediate blue now. Okay, this is how it looks. Again, you want to cut your tape about 6 centimeters in width, and then you angle it so that you end up with about 6 or 7 stripes. And what I was using again as a guide was a studio model here. Alright, so and I think the intermediate blue from Testers works out great for this particular detail here. Alright, well it's time to apply a wash, and much like I did with the Hasbro Millennium Falcon, I'm going to be using craft paint for this. The two colors we're using is this one from Apple Barrel Colors, just plain black, and then we've got this brown sugar paint by Americana. Got about a 90-10 mixture of black versus brown. So I'm going to go ahead and mix this up with water. I'll take a brush now and apply it several times here to the surface of the ship until we get the look I'm after. Alright guys, this is now the next day, and you can see how now that it's dried, the wash does an effective job of bringing out all the detailing that we want here. Does a great job also of creating this look of a bunch of dirt and grime in between the nooks and crannies there. And so before I went to bed, I did apply a couple more washes there just to give it a little bit more darkness, but really satisfied with the way that turned out. Same technique now was used with the R2 unit. I didn't record as I was doing this, but essentially I applied a couple washes, allowed it to dry, and this morning what I did was I applied a dull coat, which is this stuff here, allowed that to dry, and then did a few more applications of the wash and put yet one more dull coat after that. So again, you can see another example of how the wash really brings out all that detailing, and the R2 that comes with the toy is nicely detailed, so yeah, I think it's going to work out real well. It's going to fit right in here. Alright, so the next step is to go ahead and proceed with detailing and weathering further the hull, and so we're going to go ahead and use our pastels and our Tamiya weathering kit. Alright guys, let's go ahead and get started now with the weathering, and so I'm going to begin with pastels now. I know you've seen me do this technique a number of times. I'm going to go ahead and record a little bit more for you here. So whenever I start, I apply pastels along corners and sharper edges like this here. Where after then is this sort of feathered appearance. Okay, so we're going to start along here, apply a bit more on this side, and we'll be darkening up some of these areas here. I've got the pieces that go right at the very tips of the engines. We're going to darken up the areas along here as well. And then after we lay down a certain amount of pastels, I'm going to go ahead and apply then a dull coat to hold it in place, and then we'll work a little further with the Tamiya weathering kit. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so remember I told you how the wash can sometimes dry unevenly. You can see it kind of looks like a water spot here. So we can use our pastels to blend that in, or hide it, essentially. And that's what I'm doing here. We had a water spot that was all along this section, so I'm just kind of dabbing the pastel along here. And it looks more like a burn mark that stretches from one end to the other. Guys, and this is how the top half is looking. Pretty much done here now with the pastels. Bear in mind, as I went along, I was using the dull coat. That's Tester's lusterless flat coat. I applied a dull coat as I finished this section, then along here, and then finally the engines. As you apply your dull coat, again, you want to stand a little bit away from your model. You know, don't get up really, really close. You want to maybe around 18, maybe 20 inches away and apply a light mist. If you apply too heavy of a dull coat, it could potentially make the pastels run. And also, as you do so, the dull coat tends to darken up the shading, and that's perfectly fine. Just make sure you keep that in mind as you're applying your shading, because if you make it too dark, it will come out a bit darker as you apply your dull coat there. Again, as we go over this back section, you can see how effective the pastels are at bringing out that detail. So really an easy way and inexpensive way of creating a battle-worn look is by simply taking your pastels, grinding them up on sandpaper, and taking a brush, kind of like this here, and applying it to the surface as we've done here. I'm going to go ahead and work with the Tamiya weathering kit a little bit later, but before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and get started on the bottom half of the model. Alright, and this is how the bottom half is looking. I didn't record any of this because it was really the same stuff I did for the top half. I started working on the engines and just applying pastels at the ends here and in here. So I've done 2 of them already, and I'll finish the other 2 and apply dull coat to those. Alright, and here's how everything is looking. We've got the upper and lower half of the ship done. We've got pastels applied to the wings and also the engine pieces. Well, as you can see, our X-Wing is coming along. I thought I'd be able to finish everything in this video, but between converting the laser cannons along with the weathering, and I wanted to show you more how to apply pastels and all that, I think I'm going to go ahead and extend this into one more video. So in that video, we'll wrap everything up. I'm going to go ahead and finish the lighting and the wiring, and I wanted to show you how I'm going to create an access point for the switches. Now I'll put everything together and show you the final converted X-Wing. So as always, thanks again for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you have any questions, contact me here on my YouTube channel or at interstellarmodeler@gmail.com. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you then in part 5. Take care.